Good afternoon, classy. I welcome you this afternoon to another segment that we are going to be discussing human nervous system. I'm going to be dissecting and presenting to you a key component of our syllabus, human nervous system. I'd come with some questions again that you can see on the board there that we are going to use in our discussion. Basically, just to go without going far, I just want to let you know that human nervous system, the human nervous system is actually divided into two basic parts. As you can see in our diagram there, we have got our human nervous system, which is shown there, and then we have got a division, which we can say division 1 and division 2. So these basically are showing us that we have got two systems, or we've got two components that forms or that make up the nervous system, which we are saying there is the central nervous system as shown on the far left this side. We have got the central nervous system that is shown on the far left here, the central nervous system that is shown there, and then obviously the other component must be what? Must be peripheral nervous system. Must be peripheral nervous system. So we are just saying a human nervous system is divided into two parts, which is basically to say we have got the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Anyway, again, we are saying the central nervous system is divided into two parts again, which is one, we have got the brain, and then two, we can say we have got the spinal cord. These are the two that forms the central nervous system. And then on the peripheral nervous system as well, we can see again that it is divided into two. The peripheral nervous system is also divided into two, which we are saying we have got the cranial nerves. We have got the cranial nerves here, and then obviously the cranial nerves, they goes together with what? With the spinal nerves here. We should say that there is also spinal nerves on this side. Spinal nerves. So we are saying we have got the peripheral nervous system, which is divided into two, the cranial and then the cranial and also the spinal nerve. And together these can also form together, they form together, they are combined, they form what is called the autonomic nervous system, which we can say it is autonomic nervous system that is formed when these two systems are combined together, autonomic nervous system. And then we can as well see that the autonomic nervous system is also divided into two as well, which we have got the sympathetic nervous system and also the parasympathetic nervous system. So we are seeing a continuation of a flow division that is shown in here, the sympathetic nervous system, and then obviously the opposite of it, or the other part or system of it, is what is parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system. So this basically, I've just presented this to you such that you can need to understand this before you go into any question that might arise. But I was saying, this is a flow diagram that has been used to dissect and present to the class the human nervous system, which is divided into two, the central nervous system made up of the brain and the spinal cord, the peripheral nervous system that is indicated by A on our diagram there, which is A shown there, the peripheral nervous system also divided into the cranial and then the spinal nerves. The spinal nerves and the cranial nervous system, the cranial nerves and the spinal nerves, they both combine together or join together, form a system which is called autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system would also arise and would also branch to form the sympathetic and then the parasympathetic nervous system. And again, before we go anywhere, I would just want us to understand again that the sympathetic nervous system, it controls the systems that increases the amount of energy that the body is using. So what we are saying is that the sympathetic nervous system, it has to do with activities that increases the amount of energy. The sympathetic nervous system works with increasing amount of energy, that the body would use. So what we are saying is that this sympathetic nervous system, it is also responsible for fight or flight responses, which we can say is responsible for fight and flight responses. These all are systems, or they are all referring to the what? To the sympathetic nervous system. They are all referring to the sympathetic nervous system, which we can give as to say the sympathetic nervous system. We can talk about the dilation of the pupil. We can talk about the what we call the sympathetic nervous system. We can talk about the increase in the rate and depth of the beating of the lungs, the breathing depth of the lungs, the decrease in the peristalsis, and also the release of the digestive juices are quite good examples under the sympathetic nervous system. And then the parasympathetic system, as we are saying, the parasympathetic system controls the activities that decreases the amount of energy that we use. The parasympathetic system, the parasympathetic nervous system, it controls activities that decreases the amount of energy that the body or that the system uses. The part of the autonomic nervous system that controls activities which retains the body to normal. It actually helps to retain the body to normal, the parasympathetic system. The parasympathetic system helps to retain the body to normal, causing the rest and digest motion. It controls the rest and digest. It controls the rest and digest responses. Rest and digest responses are controlled by the parasympathetic system. Rest and digest responses. That is the parasympathetic nervous system. In other words, we are saying the parasympathetic nervous system, it actually enables the body to return to normal, which we are saying, as we have seen the sympathetic nervous system, we've said that it is responsible for fight and flight responses, as to say that the body will be fighting or will be working towards activities that would enable the body to have energy in terms of fighting certain activities that are necessary in the body. Therefore, we are saying the parasympathetic system, it gives the reverse or the opposite of the sympathetic nervous system. So as you can see, that is the basic representation of our human nervous system. So I would like us to go quickly and answer the questions that are below. The questions that are below, I'm sure that they would enable us to understand better in terms of this human nervous system that we are referring to. So question first is saying, identify the component of the nervous system represented by A. Identify the component of the nervous system that is represented by A. What are those components that are represented by A? We are saying A, it is representing the peripheral nervous system. A represents the peripheral nervous system. Our A in first question, it is referring to the peripheral. Our A refers to the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral The peripheral nervous system is what you mean by a peripheral nervous system. It is a there because as we can see there, we said that the human nervous system is divided into central and then the peripheral, which we can see that it dissects into the cranial nerves and also the spinal nerves. And then the next question, what is it? It's saying identify the component of the nervous system represented by D. What is that part which is represented by D? D, as you can see, D represents, D is this one, which is already shown. D is this one, which is shown in the system, on our diagram there, which we identified as to say D is autonomic. It is autonomic nervous system. D is autonomic nervous system. That is quite clear. That is so true and very correct that D is autonomic nervous system. D is autonomic nervous system. D is autonomic nervous system. That is correct, which is, we are saying that it is formed, or it is the one that would give rise to sympathetic and then the parasympathetic that is shown by letter E there. Name the type of nerves found at C. Name the type of nerve that is found at C. We have already answered it as we have said there, that C is formed, the type of nerves that are found at C. We have already said that C is formed by what? By the spinal nerves. I'm sure that we have seen there in my introduction that C, the type of nerves that are found, it is what? Spinal nerves. Spinal nerves. Spinal nerves is the type of nerves that are found at C there. Spinal nerves. That is very correct. Spinal nerves is what is found at C. And then the next question is saying, give the letter and name of the component that slows down the heart rate when an emergency situation is, give the letter and name of the component that slows down the heart rate when an emergency situation is passed. I have already given you in my presentation that what is it that is causing the nervous system, or that slows down, or that returns the body to normal? The part of the nervous system that returns the body to normal, we said that it is parasympathetic nervous system. So our question to 1.4.3, we are saying the letter and the name. What is the letter and the name? So it is given there to say it is E, which is parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system. We are saying it is the system that slows the heart rate when the emergency situation is passed. It is E that is responsible for that. E has got to do with the controls that the body has to receive, or the body has to gain when an emergency situation is passed. It is the parasympathetic system that returns the body to normal. So it is E. Question 1.4.4, name the nerve cells that make up the nerve tissue. Name the nerve cells that make up the nerve tissue. What is it? We are saying the nerve cells. This 1.4.4, we are saying it is the what? It is the neuron. We said the neuron is the basic unit of the nervous system. Then the neuron is the basic unit of the nervous system. So it is the neuron, which is 1.4.4. 1.4.5, state two ways in which the brain is protected. State 2 ways in which the brain is protected. The brain is protected through, we said the brain is protected through, what are the 3 ways? 2 ways. We can just give one ways in which the brain is protected. We are saying there is what is called the meninges. These are the protective cells, or the protective tissues that are found there, which we found which we discussed, or which I want you to understand to say that we have got the dura mater, we've got the acronoid, and then the subacronoid, which we are saying that they are there as protective meches that are there to protect the brain. We also have the cranium as number 2, as next point that can be listed here. The cranium. The cranium can also be called, the cranium or the bone tissue. The cranium or bone tissue, they are a system, or they are cells. They are there to protect the brain. We can also talk about number 3, which we can also give. I'm sure that you are quite aware that the brain is also protected through the cerebrospinal fluid. The cerebrospinal fluid, which we said last time that there is that fluid that releases pressure around and within the bone cells and stuff. So the cerebrospinal fluid also protects. It also helps in protecting the brain. So this is what we are saying as in regard to the structure and the explanation with regard to what, to the brain, the human nervous system. Let's quickly answer the next question. Our next question, it is the structure of the human brain that is given there. We are given the structure of the human brain that is given there. As always, I would always like to say that when given questions such as this, we always want to begin by answering even any other questions that might not be asked. But in this regard, since we are doing revision, we need to answer them. So in this case, we can answer them in their order. A, we can say our A there is the pituitary gland. A is the pituitary gland that is shown there, which we can also say the hypophysis. And then B, as you can see, B, the largest part of the brain cell, which we said that is the what is the cerebrum. Cerebrum is B. And then we have got C, which is a structure that divides the brain into, or which divides the cerebrum into 2 hemispheres, which we are saying this is called the what? The corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is given there, and then we have got also D, which is the cerebellum. D, which is the we say the cerebellum. And then, of course, we say we have got on the cerebellum, we can say that there is what is the white matter, which is inside there. Of course, is not being labeled, but we can as well label it there to say our white matter there is given. And then we are saying our white matter is also there. And then the outer layer, which is this one, the grayish one, which we say the gray matter, and then we can say E. Sometimes students, they do confuse this E. E is to say that it is the spinal cord, as you can see there. E is the spinal cord. E is the spinal cord as seen there. And then we can, of course, say that we have got our medulla oblongata that must be given as to say that it is there, to say this is our medulla oblongata. So we just labeled them like that. We have just labeled them, and then that is what is happening. That is what is happening to say that we just need to know that the brain cells are divided into the order that we have just tried to show in this diagram here, or in this illustration that is given there. So in any case, when we are given questions such as these ones, we basically just need to know that let us just begin quickly by giving the labels, so therefore you won't be able to make mistakes when you answer your questions. So the pituitary gland or hypophysis is shown there. We have got the cerebrum, the largest part of the brain cell. We have got the corpus callosum, that is C, and then D, the cerebellum, and then we have got, which is just below the cerebrum, we have got our white matter, which is inside the cerebellum, and then the outer coating grayish layer, which is the gray matter, as well as the spinal cord and the medulla oblongata. We just want to quickly answer our questions again, so therefore we can go to any other questions and we can be able to make more understanding of these brain cells. Our first question is saying 1.4.1. The first question is saying, give the letter and name of the part of the brain responsible for. So in this case, the question wants you to give the letter and the name. Give the letter and name. So we are saying which part of the brain cell is responsible for memorizing a cell number. So what we are saying is that which part of the brain is responsible for memorizing this, for memorizing the phone number. So it is, what is it? Which part is it? Which part is it on our diagram there? So it is B 1.4.1. We are saying B, and then we say the letter and the name, the cerebrum. The cerebrum, it is responsible for memorizing the phone number. But in any case, we can just as well give to say what other functions are there the cerebrum has to do. We are saying, we need to understand again that the cerebrum is responsible for determining emotions. Human emotions and personality are also defined by this cerebrum. Solving intelligent problems are also done through the cerebrum. We also we need also to understand that we have got also the what you call interpret the sensory impulses such as sight, sound, and touch, which we are saying our basic senses, and then controlling other voluntary movements. Those we need to just to take note of them. Question 1.4.2. 1.4.2, coordinating all voluntary movements. Coordinating all voluntary movements. We are saying voluntary movements are coordinated by letter. We are saying D, which is the cerebellum. The cerebellum, we're saying the cerebellum is responsible for coordinating voluntary movements. We are saying give the letter and the name, the cerebellum, which it is responsible for that, which we can need to understand that it coordinates voluntary muscular movements and helping the maintenance of posture and balance. That must also be taken note of, that balance and posture are also controlled by the cerebellum. And then 1.4.3, secreting hormones. Obviously, like we see, this is a gland. So on our part of the human brain, we also have the only gland that is there, which is the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, or we say it's also called the hypophysis. It is also called hypophysis. It is responsible for secretion of secretions of hormones that you can see. We have, we need to understand that the amount of hormones that are produced from what? That are produced from the pituitary gland, the growth hormone. We have got quite a lot of hormones that are secreted there, which we need to understand that they are secreted from the human brain and actually through the pituitary gland. And then connecting the two hemispheres of, two hemispheres of part B. I'm sure I've already mentioned that the two hemispheres of the cerebrum, it is connected by the what? By the corpus callosum, which we are saying 1.4.4, the part of the brain that connected to hemispheres, we are saying it is C, which we are saying it is the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is responsible for connecting or joining the two hemispheres of the brain. And then 1.4.5, the reflex action that controls that occurs when stepping barefooted on a sharp object. When you step on a sharp object, we are saying the part that is responsible for causing the reflex action, it is E 1.4.5. It is E, which we are saying E, it is the what? The spinal cord. E, which is the spinal cord. That is very correct. So we are saying these are the structures that are found on human brain. And I'm sure that you need to understand these parts, because as much as you can see, you would see that they form or they constitute a basic unit of our syllabus. So you need to know them as they are like that. I had also added another question, which is also relative or which is similar to the one that we've just answered here now. It is again the part of the human brain. It is also part of the human brain again that I've brought in two pieces in order for us to get a comprehensive understanding. The diagram below represents part of the parts of the central nervous system of a human. We are given there, the corpus callosum is labeled. We are given E. I'm sure that we have labeled it up there, that we say that E is the what? E, we have labeled it that it is the what? It is the pituitary gland. It is the pituitary gland, that is E, and then it is the medulla oblongata D, medulla oblongata, that is D, and then we say it is the spinal cord. Spinal cord, which is C, and then D is the cerebellum, and then obviously here we said is the cerebrum. One thing that I want you again to remember is that the cerebrum is the largest part of the human brain. As you can see, it is stretched from the pituitary gland up to the point where it attaches or where it forms contact with the cerebrum, the cerebellum there. So let's quickly answer the questions. First question is saying, identify part C. Identify part C. Part C, as I've seen already, I've already written it there. C, it is the spinal cord. It is the spinal cord. I've already answered it as I was just labeling there. C is the spinal cord. And then part E, identify part E, which you can see that part E, I already labeled it again, that it is the what? E is the pituitary gland. It is the pituitary gland, which is part E there. The pituitary gland is part E, and then 2.4.2, give the letter of the part that controls voluntary actions. We just answered again such a similar question. Give the letter of the part that controls voluntary actions. We are saying give the letter that controls voluntary action. 2.4.2, we have already answered it again. We said that it is A. It is A, which we already answered again in our previous question. Describe the location of the corpus callosum. Describe the location of the corpus callosum. what is the location? 2.4.3. 2.4.3 describe the location of corpus callosum. In other words, we just want to give to say, where is the corpus callosum found? We are saying, we need to understand that, as I've described before, that it is found between the two hemispheres of the cerebrum. Describe the location is found between the two hemispheres of cerebrum. That's what it is found between the two hemispheres of the cerebrum. That is the location. As you can see, the corpus callosum is given there. As you can see, that we are saying we have got the left and the right hemisphere, which is given there. As you can see that the corpus callosum, it is this part which you are seeing there. The corpus callosum, it is this part that you are seeing there. So what we are saying is that the corpus callosum, it is found between the two hemispheres of the what? Between the two hemispheres of, it is found between the two hemispheres of the what? Of the cerebrum. And then Elena suffered a brain injury during a rugby match. He could still breathe properly, but he experienced occasional loss of memory. That's what the question is saying. Elena suffered brain injury during rugby. During a rugby match, he could still breathe properly, but he experienced occasional loss of memory. So the questions that are next, that are there, are saying, the questions are saying, let's quickly answer the questions that are there. Memory and balancing. So our question, explain why. First question is saying, explain why the learner could still breathe properly. The learner suffered injuries during a learner suffered injuries during rugby match. He could still breathe properly, but experienced occasional loss of memory and balance. And then the question is saying, explain why the learner could still breathe properly. Explain why the learner could still breathe properly. Why is the learner still breathing? Question A. Why is the learner still breathing properly? We are saying the learner could still breathe properly. Why is it that possible? We are saying, as you can see in this question, the question wants us or wants a learner to understand that what is the part of the brain that is responsible for breathing. If the learner is still breathing properly, therefore it means that, it means what? This is 2.4.4a. We are saying it means what? It means one, part D, which is the medulla oblongata. Part D, which is medulla oblongata. Part D, which is the medulla oblongata from the diagram that we are referring to there. Part D, which is the medulla oblongata there, controls breathing, therefore it was not injured. Part D, which is the medulla oblongata, which controls breathing, was not injured. That is the reason why the learner is still breathing. The learner suffered injuries during a rugby match, but the question is saying, explain why the learner is still breathing. The learner is still breathing because medulla oblongata, or part D, which is the medulla oblongata, which controls breathing, was not injured. And then next question, it is explain why it is possible that the injury affected part B. Explain why is it possible that the injury affected part B. Why is it possible that the injury affected part B? Part B, which is the cerebellum, why is it possible to say that part B, how can we say that part B is affected? How do we say that it is affected? How is it possible that part B is affected? So the answer is that it is affected because 2.4.4b explain why is it possible that part B is affected, which we say is the cerebellum. So the answer is that the learner occasionally lost the balance due to the coordination of voluntary movements of part B, which is therefore showing that it is damaged. The learner occasionally lose balance. The learner occasionally lose balance. That is shown in our lose balance due to the coordination of voluntary movements. Loss of the learner occasionally lose balance due to loss of coordination of voluntary movements. To say that the learner occasionally lose balance due to loss of coordination of voluntary movements, by the cerebellum, which is part B. As you can see there, we are seeing the learner occasionally lose balance. So because of that, coordination of balance is lost. And therefore, we are saying the learner also occasionally loses memory. So what we can say is that the learner occasionally loses balance due to loss of coordination of voluntary movements by part B, which is the cerebellum. That is why we can say that it is damaged. It is damaged or it is injured because the learner occasionally loses balance. That is why we can say that that is the reason why the learner can be said that the part B is injured. Question 2.4.4c, 2.4.4c, our C question, the hearing of the learner could also be affected because of the injury. Explain why the hearing of the learner could also be affected because of the injury. In part C, what is that? What are we saying? We are saying loss of memory indicates a possible injury to part A. In this case, we are saying loss of memory, which is indicated in our scenario there. Loss of memory indicates loss of memory, which is also shown in our part in our case. They indicate a possible injury to part A. Indicate a possible injury to part A, which indicates a possible injury to part A, which we are saying the cerebrum. Part A, the cerebrum, that is what we are seeing there, which is also responsible for hearing and interpretation of sound. Part A, which is also responsible for for hearing, for it is also responsible for hearing or interpretation of hearing or interpretation of sound. So part C question, which is shown there, explain why the hearing of the learner could also be affected because of the injury. It is because we are saying loss of memory indicate possible injury to part A, the cerebrum, which is also responsible for what? For hearing and interpretation of sound, which is also responsible for hearing and interpretation of sound. So therefore we can say that there is lots of, there is also, that is why the learner can also have a problem of hearing. And then we have got this question here. The efficiency and speed of a knee-jerk reaction is very important for balance and movement. The stimulation of the patellar tendon just below the kneecap, the patella, causes the contraction of and relaxation of the quadriceps muscle in the upper leg. That is being shown in our diagram below here. So the diagram below represents the reflex ache for the knee-jerk reaction containing only one synapse. The arrow indicates the transmission of the nerve impulses. The arrows which are shown here are indicating the movement of the nerve impulses. The arrows are showing the movement of the nerve impulses, which are shown in this regard, in this case here. So synapse, remember to say this one, we define, it is also supposed to be known that it is a microscopic gap between adjacent neurons, adjacent neurons. It's called a synapse, in a microscopic gap that is between, or that is found on neurons. As you remember to say, we said our neurons, they don't touch end to end, but there is a microscopic gap that is always created between them. So that gap is called the synapse, which is the synapse that is given in our context here, which is the synapse that is given there. So the first question is saying, identify what is reflex ache, define reflex ache, define what is reflex ache, what is reflex ache. You remember to say reflex action. Reflex action, I was saying, learners, you should also be able to understand that certain times we have got times where learners are being misled or are being diverted by a confusion that arises between reflex action and reflex ache. In this case, the question is asking to say, what is reflex ache 2.5.1? Reflex ache, it is defined as a rapid involuntary response to a stimulus. A rapid involuntary response to a stimulus is what you call a reflex action. To say that when a person, for instance, we are talking about you are walking and then you step on a sharp object, therefore we are saying that movement or that transmission of impulses which is taking place, therefore we are saying the response which is involuntary to that stimulus is what you call reflex action, And then the next question is saying, state one reason why synapse is significant. Why is 2.5.2, 2.5.2a. State one reason why the synapse is important. One, we are saying the synapse, it ensures that the impulses, it ensures that the impulse is transmitted in one direction, ensures that impulses are transmitted in one direction. It ensures that impulses are transmitted in one direction. In other words, we can also transmitted in one direction. We can also help that it ensures that impulses travels in high. It ensures also that impulses they do travel at high speed. And impulses are moving. They are also stimulated to travel in one speed as a reason of the synapse. As the reason of the synapse, it ensures that impulses are traveling in one speed, in one direction, at a high speed as well. And then the next question is saying, this is 2.5 point what B, let's say question B, 2.5.2b. 2.5.2b, state the importance of the knee-jerk reaction. State the importance of the knee-jerk reaction. The knee-jerk reaction, it is given here that the efficiency and speed of the knee-jerk reaction is very important for movement and balance. So the question is saying, state the importance of the knee-jerk reaction. Obviously, as you can see, in our case, it is actually given there that it is important for balancing. It is important for balance and movement, which is given in our scenario, even in this case that is given there. So it is important for balance or movement. It is important for balancing or movement. It is important for balancing or movement. That is the importance of the knee-jerk reaction. It is important for balancing or movement. Describe the pathway of the impulse in the reflex action, to bring about the knee-jerk reaction. In this case, we are actually asked to explain the movement of the impulses as it is seen from the patellar tendon, and then we are having a neuron there which you always know, or which we need to understand that there is a sensory neuron that is at the contact of the receptor organ there, where the impulses are being taken, as therefore the synapse in between in the spinal cord until it exits through the motor neuron to the to the effector organ there. So the question would want us to describe the pathway here. So one, we are saying the impulse is transmitted from the receptors. The impulses, one, we are saying the impulses are transmitted from the receptor organ impulses are transmitted from the receptor organ in the patellar tendon that is shown there, receptor organ in the patella. It is shown there, which is in the patellar tendon. In the patellar tendon through the sensory neuron. Through the sensory neuron. Through the sensory neuron. Through the sensory neuron and the synapse to the motor neuron. Through the sensory neuron. Through the sensory neuron and the synapse to the motor neuron. The synapse to the motor neuron and to the quadriceps, which are shown in our question there. As you can see, we have got the quadriceps there. We are saying the motor neuron is the motor neuron. Obviously, you can see we should have the motor neuron there. The motor neuron is the one that is connecting to the quadriceps muscles there. So we are saying the impulse are transmitted from the receptor organ in the patellar tendon, which is the patellar tendon. As you can see there, the patellar tendon is this one. The impulses are transmitted from the receptor organ in the patellar tendon through the sensory neuron, which we are saying we have got our what? Our sensory neuron, which is up there. The sensory neuron is there. The sensory neuron is supposed to be in there. The sensory neuron is shown up above there. So through the sensory neuron, and the synapse of the motor neuron, and the synapse of the motor neuron, I'm sure that you can see we are having a synapse that is shown there, where they said that there is only one synapse. The scenario said that there is only one synapse there, in the quadriceps muscle, and to the quadriceps muscle that is shown there, and to the quadriceps muscle. The quadriceps muscles are shown, the quadriceps. As you can see in our diagram there, the quadriceps muscle. So basically that is the movement of the impulses that is being given there. The quadriceps muscle, which is shown in our diagram. In our diagram in this case. So I thank you so much. I hope that you are going to enjoy and you are going to have a proper understanding of the human central nervous system, or the human nervous system, which we are going to explore more again and further deep in our next segment of the presentation. Thank you very much. And don't forget to subscribe and follow up the channel, and tell the friend to tell another friend that metric passing and metric starting has been simplified through the Metric Hub YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and have a pleasant study. All the best in your studies. Thank you.